but surrendering would put America in grave danger. What many Americans fail to realize is that we are being tested by the Islamofascists, the North Koreans, and others who despise us. Any sign of weakness will lead to more violence against us. But we simply cannot stay the course in Iraq. The USA must demand the Iraqi people fight for their freedom and give the Iraqi government a private ultimatum. Get things under control. If you don't, you can't count on us to do it for you. Yeah, I'm not a partisan as far as telling anybody who to vote for. I think you're smart enough to know who to vote for. But I'm looking at the unintended consequences. And this is all about Iraq. Isn't it interesting that Iraq now, this Muslim country that 10 years ago nobody even heard of, all right, is now impacting on how we live here in America. Sure. Because again, if Iraq had been pacified the way Afghanistan is, if it had been a successful military campaign, Bush would 60%. There would be no dissatisfaction because the economy's pretty good, everything's rolling along, but Iraq is now influencing how we live here. President Bush held a press conference today, once again saying the USA will win in that country, but even though it's a noble effort, that if we pull out too early, the terrorists will win a great victory. Now, I believe Iraq is a noble effort, but I'm not sure the Iraqi people will fight for their freedom. So in theory, the president is right, but in reality, America may not prevail. Joining us now from Boston, Colonel David Hunt, a Fox News military guy, and from New York, Dan Senior, a Fox News analyst and former advisor to the presidential envoy in Iraq. Okay, Colonel, do you agree with me the theory and the intent? The theory is strong. We need to have the Middle East secured with Muslim nations who are moderate and fight terror. And the intent to remove a brutal dictator and do that was correct. Do you agree with that?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. There's no question. Yeah.
The United States can't do any more. All right, we've done what we can do. Look, come on. You got 3.5 years of training these people over there. How much more training do you need? You got 3.5 years of training the police and the army. The police are worthless, the Iraqi police, and the army, some of them are okay and some of them aren't.
Right.
I mean, it's like the South Vietnamese.
Right.
How many more years do you have to train these people to provide their own security, Dan?
Right. We have a responsibility. Is it in our interest to actually be more assertive and more forward-looking, provide more troops if it's necessary, put more boots on the ground? That's the reality of Iraq is today.
I know the American people are not going to buy more troops on the ground. We got 150,000, and then you have the British with 25. Okay, it's probably not enough. You're right, but 65% of the American public. 65% of the American public have had enough. Now, I understand, and Bush is right. Bush is right. If we don't win that thing, we're going to pay a price down the line. It's going to be horrific. It is. I know it. I feel it. He's right. Mr. President Bush last week, Dan, I want the partition. I think that's the only hope. That the Kurds run their show, the Sunnis run their show, Shia run their show. You split the revenue, you buy these people off. If you have to put strong men into control, you put the strong men in.
But the problem with that, Bill, is in the large population centers in Kirkuk, in Baghdad, and Mosul, you have Shiites and Sunnis and Kurds living on top of one another. There's no way to easily divide those places up. But you have to have a system there. You have to have a system there where they all get paid.
Tribal leadership.
Yeah, but then it's forced migration. You're going to have to move people out of neighborhoods and out of whole provinces in order to divide it up easily.
They move themselves out. They move themselves out. But this isn't going to work. It's not going to work.
Let me just make one point, Bill. The areas of Iraq that have been most stable, where our operations have actually stabilized provinces, in Tal Afar, in the western part of the country along the Syrian border, it was because there was a serious ratio between American troops and Iraqi civilians. In the case of Tal Afar, it was 40 to 1.
Look, we could do it if we had 500,000, but the American public's not going to stand for it.
Maybe we need a bigger army.
This way, guys.
If we had pacified Iraq, President Bush's approval rating would be about 60%.